Welcome back, everybody, to Black Bull Podcast. Today we have Awake. Awake?
Yeah.
Hello. So,
do I look into that or no? Or do I look at you?
You could look into that. Go ahead. So everyone watching the YouTube video, get a good glimpse of him. So Awake is a painter illustrator. You have like one of the most unique styles that I think I've seen in a long time. How would you describe your style for anyone who has not seen it yet?
I would say like psychedelic, but a lot of line work. I really don't. It's hard to describe art.
It's expressive in a very modern way. I mean, you say psychedelic, but it's not like what you would initially think of as a psychedelic piece of artwork. Usually, that's just a lot of swirls and stuff. But it seems like you paint portraits in a way that has hints of cubism. Sometimes,
I mean, I don't know like a lot about art, honestly.
It's like cubist with some like Picasso influence, with some fine art skills, with some illustration skills. I mean, you run the gamut of so many different like techniques and skills all into one piece, and it definitely impressed me.
Thank you.
So one thing that I think I've been trying to focus on lately is about concept development. When you first start or initiate a project, like where do you start with that?
I mean, so like the portrait stuff, it was just an organic, like I painted my roommate first and then I wanted to paint more people. So I reached out online and, I just painted as many people as I could and wanted to, and as long as I had energy for it. Yeah. But I ended up painting 153 people in a year and a half, and then just kind of naturally stopped as I was less interested in doing it. So it's probably been like, I think the real like push to do that probably ended about 6 or 7 months ago, and then I just kind of let them trickle in as people were still interested in doing it. And it was just like for my own practice because I was excited about it and it was really fun. But at
what point?
It wasn't like I wanted to get this many done in this amount of time. It was just like, this is fun for now, and I'm going to do it until I run out of steam or whatever.
I'm sure that like you at one point painted more realistic. I mean, was there like a turning point when you just said, I think this is my style and I found it and I'm going to embrace it and just go all in on it?
The portrait stuff is actually the most realistic that I've ever painted or done anything. And usually it was just like stream of consciousness, a lot of faces, but no, like I'm sitting across from somebody trying to find their features and like put them on paper. So that was just like, I painted my roommate. Like my roommate was literally the first person that I painted with in the style that I had been developing over the past, like, I don't know, probably 6 years. Yeah. But, I mean, I was just learning.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I don't know.
So are you oil or?
No, it's gouache, a lot of gouache, ink, and paint pen, like acrylic paint.
Man, I'm just so like curious about like how your style evolved to be what it is. And like I said, I kind of mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like experiments, a lot of them.
All experiments. Yeah. I think it was like SK, he was talking about how I think everyone should just try to like copy a bunch of styles until they find something that feels right to them.
Mm-hmm. He was actually one of the first people that I painted their portrait.
Oh shit. Mm-hmm. He's become a good friend. I like him. And that's a guy who, I mean, truly has technical drawing down. I wish I could do that.
Very precise.
Yeah. So where would you say like your style has come from? Like, has it come from a place in your life where there was struggle, where there was stress, or a lot of times that's a recurring theme that I see with people. So is there any, what would you say?
I mean, like to an extent, yeah, but not everything, I mean, I think it just like is being able to sit and do something that makes your time evaporate is like a wonderful thing to be able to have. And I'm lucky that I have that with art. And I mean, it's very like, it's always just been to have more of that time, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So like, I think I used it to probably pass the time in school when I was in high school and middle school or whatever. And then just started doing it on my own outside of school. You know what I mean? And then as I grew up more and more, it was like, I was seeing either art and culture that I thought was really cool. Like, I don't like skateboard, but I definitely like had a lot of friends who did and were getting better than I was. And I just like didn't want to get hurt, but I loved the art attached to skateboarding, you know, so I feel like those are like major influences that were happening around me, that made me want to draw or like find people that were just doing illustration and stuff like that. And it was really cool.
Isn't me to skateboard art, has that like diminished a lot? Because they used to be like everything.
What do you mean?
The like skateboard, like literally art on skateboards. Like I remember being really into that also. And then I don't know if the company, but probably because the companies have gone away a little bit also.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't like follow skate like deck art as much as I used to.
Yeah.
But there's still like really fucking cool art and
they are
skateboarding.
Well, I feel like most of the cool artwork is now just done independently and not by the skateboard companies, because I mean, so many of the brands that we used to see as iconic, they kind of went away as Nike and Adidas started running the show. You know, because then once they started taking all the pro skaters, then I mean, all those shoe companies were gone for sure. And then I think that had a little bit of a toll on the skateboard companies as well. I mean, I'm just guessing.
Yeah, I honestly don't even really know. It's just like, I love Toy Machine and I love Ed Templeton. Dude. And it's like, those are like the illustrations that I grew up just like, oh, that's so
the Toy cool. Machine with the and toy and the machine on the hands. Yeah. I love that one. That was the first time I was like, oh, you can just be ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, Ed Templeton is like forever an inspiration for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So what would you say you do to like clear your head that isn't art related?
I mean, that's really it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not really good at that, which is the reason why I recently got a job again. You know what I mean? It's like, it was I don't know, I painted about like full time for like 2 years. And then within the last like month, I got a job out of just necessity to have a place to like chill out my brain. It was like financially I was okay, but I like mentally was exhausted and I had no way outside of that. You know what I mean? Because like the thing that I was using to wind down was the thing that I was so stressed about, and I couldn't separate them anymore. You know what I mean? So I was just like stressed all the time and didn't have any sort of like escape from that. So I'm like still kind of trying to answer that question.
Painting full time, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot in like a really strange way. I mean, it's like, it's weird.
Well, it's like you wake up and is your studio, do you have your studio in your house or do you have I
usually sit in like cafes or sometimes I'll paint in a bar, but usually not. It's more like I'll go to a cafe and paint. I have a desk at home that is like just full of stuff right now. It's like I can't sit and paint at it.
You almost have to leave your house at some point.
It was that too. It was like as soon as I started leaving my house to go paint, then I was able to like paint a lot more. Yeah. And like finish a piece in a couple hours or whatever. And then I was doing portrait stuff and meeting people in public, painting their portrait in a cafe. So it was just like this natural, like, so you go out and paint. And
you would meet up with them in a cafe and just like paint them right there.
Yeah, it would take, but like usually it was like between an hour and a half to 3 hours. Sometimes it'd go over that depending on like, because we were in conversation the whole time too.
And these paid clients that you're doing it with?
There was an option to buy the piece afterwards. And there was also like, people didn't have to. It was like for my practice. I just like, in my head, it was like, if the person buys the painting, it's like me having a scholarship. If the person doesn't buy the painting, it's me paying, with my time for a lesson. It's like, I don't know. I didn't go to art school. I went to like a year at university and dropped out and just said, I'm going to do my own thing and figure it out.
That's an interesting way to frame it. If they buy it, then that's like your scholarship. So you're as self-taught as you could possibly be, that you're mentally distributing your tuition between the
it's just like trying to figure it out. It was like I didn't connect with the year that I went to school for, like, took a few art classes. I connected with one professor. His name is Chuck Landebatter. He's a fucking incredible artist.
Yeah.
And then the next one right after that, it was like a terrible experience. I don't even remember that dude's name, but deciding to leave that college and pursue art on my own, I wasn't exiting learning. I wasn't exiting, school. I was still in that same mindset. It was just like the way that I'm, like, what's being provided for me to get an education is not something that I want to buy. The thing that's packaged and whatever is being sold to me is like, in my opinion, bullshit. And it was just like, I don't learn this. Literally don't learn this way. I know how I learn and I'm going to go figure that out. So that's why, that's what I've been doing the past 6 years.
You know what I think? Okay, because I did art school too, and one of the things that I think bothered me about it is they focus so much, and I kind of get why they focus so much on technical skill.
Yeah.
Again,
yeah,
I get that, but there was like no time to focus on like your personal style.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's like you kind of they expected you to like figure it out on your own, and it wasn't as expressive as it should be. Like nowadays, your personal style is everything. Like technical shit, I mean, that's a plus, but I see a lot of successful artists out there crushing it without really any technical skill. I mean, do you agree with that?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think it's all the same thing. It's like, yeah, there's technical skill, but like, even saying there's no time for it, I didn't go to like a formal art school. It wasn't like all your classes are around art. It was like I was at a university that was like it was like an agricultural college or whatever, and they had an art program. You know what I mean? And I only got through like 2 classes, and the rest were generals, and it was just like, I don't want to do this. You know, like
dude, general ed classes, man.
So it was just like it was just like not the way that I wanted to do that. And it was like, I was paying for it myself, and it was expensive. And I was just like, I can move somewhere that I want to live and be painting my own way. I mean, like, there's plenty of time, you know, to develop your own style if you want to put in the work outside of your class. I mean, I don't think anybody can teach you that. I think that comes from just a personal desire to, you know, express something that you want to or feel like is valuable to you, you know? So I don't know.
Yeah.
If that answers your question or not.
Yeah. No, I mean, just the whole like art degree experiences, I'm so like back and forth on it. It's like I see the value of some parts of it. But
it's also like I didn't take those classes, and I didn't learn that stuff firsthand from somebody, so therefore I just didn't learn it. You know what I mean? Like there's certain processes that I just don't have access to learning how to do. So therefore I never was able to develop a passion for it. You know what I mean? So like there's tons of like painting with oils and stuff. There's a massive learning curve.
Right.
Like using print things, like big crazy acid baths and shit like that. I've never done it. I've never tried it. I've never seen it done. It would take a lot more work for me to seek that out on my own outside of college. And it's not what I'm going to do with my time at this point in my life. You know, maybe I will 10 years from now or 5 years from now or next week. I don't know. But like, I think that's the best part about a college experience is everything at your fingertips that you're paying for is like, you're basically renting studio space that has everything you could think of.
Yeah.
You know, if depending on the program that you're in, I don't know. But
yeah.
I don't know. I just like mentally, I couldn't do that, you know? So I didn't. But.
Yeah. I think like one of the cooler parts was the printmaking side of, because it was so foreign to, at least to me, it was really foreign. I had no idea how it really worked. So like that experience was cool. Some of the really basic like art history classes, I got it. You know, you kind of have to. But then when you go off to do like dance class, I was like, man, what the hell is this shit? You know,
I would love that.
Man, like, if you like it, you like it. But I don't know if it should be like as forced. And that's
did you have to take a dance class?
For like, well, okay, the backcore physical activity shit. I guess I did a like yoga one. I did a dance one. I mean, I don't know. I just thought
what type of dance did you?
I did salsa.
That's fun.
But I didn't think.
But you weren't good at it, so you didn't like it, and you were forced to take it.
No, actually, I wasn't bad at it. I just didn't like the idea of paying for it. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I was in like so many classes I didn't want to pay for, but I had to take them for credits, and it was just like this is a weird system that I just like don't want to be part of. You know, that was it more than anything.
Did you ever learn anything from those classes that you didn't want to take, or were you just so frustrated with having to take them?
No, I mean, I definitely had interesting classes that were cool. But it was just like, just looking around at my peers and seeing everybody on their computer doing things that were not connected to the class at all.
Yeah.
Which is like, nobody really wants to be here, but we're all here and waiting for the final to happen. You know, like that was, once that was in my brain, it was just like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. Like, I gotta go. This is not the way that I'm gonna learn. Like, this is how, you know, I'm going to be stuck in this place for X amount of years until I finish this and then feel like I can do something on my own. You know, it's just like, once that thought was in my head, it was time for me to go. But
it does seem like now colleges as a whole are like losing their credibility and people are finding other ways to like gain certifications in whatever trade they want to do, and they're just trying to like bypass all the bullshit. I mean, I have a lot of really successful friends that don't have a college degree, and I see that trend just like spiking.
Yeah, I mean, it was also like, if somebody likes my art, they're gonna buy it. They're not gonna ask, do you have a degree? You don't have a degree, then I can't buy your art. Like that just, it's not gonna happen, you know, at least not for me, you know, like if you like it, you like it. If you don't, then you don't. And then we'll move on from that point either way. You know what I mean? So like, I had
a drawing teacher who had his master's in drawing. And I always was like, man, you either good or you're not. You know what I mean? Like nothing against the guy. He was super nice. But at what point did he feel the need to graduate with a drawing degree and be like, I'm going to take this drawing further and get a master's?
If you can't do, you teach, right?
I don't feel that way either. I don't feel that way at all. It's like, I just feel like if somebody feels like they want to do that and they can do that if they're happy. I don't give a fuck.
And exactly. I don't want to rag on the guy because he was a nice guy, but kind of like what you're saying, like why isn't he like trying to be this crazy drawer? I don't know. I don't want it to seem negative. I feel like I'm being negative. I don't want to be negative about it.
I think education's cool. I think that whatever that means is cool. You know, that can either be formal, that can be not formal. I think it's the same thing to me.
Yeah.
I mean, looking back, I went to 4-year college here in Portland State, and I think like all during it, I was like taking classes I didn't really want to. But then once I was done, it like, I look back and be like, I grew as a person. I didn't just like learn things, but like, I think being exposed to certain things that I wasn't interested in kind of helped me. I guess I took like criminology and sociology classes, and like, I'm from a small town, so hearing about racism and all the things that go along with that was like really helped me as a person. And I went to a film program, and I'd say in terms of the actual film program, I didn't learn or grow much. It was pretty much all the other classes that was doing that for me. Yeah.
I think for any artist, the way you grow is when you really want to learn it. Because I think even I did photography classes when I was at a time where I was super distracted and I wasn't learning anything. But then at one point I was like, no, I need to be as good as I can possibly be at this. And then you just start watching like every YouTube video to find out this technique, reading all the books, getting your hands on any kind of gear that will help stimulate your brain to be better at it. And that's when you grow. I mean, we throw, I feel like we're just talking about colleges right now, which is kind of funny, but I feel like we like throw a lot of kids, just like throw them into college and say, you'll figure it out. I don't think they will. Well, they might. I don't think they will as quickly as you should. Just
see that as the next step of like
totally,
going to college.
Yeah,
it's encouraged.
There's a like massive expectation to go to school. To
every parent sees that as something that will increase their chances of being successful. And they're right. They are right. You know, if you have a degree, like that helps you out a lot. That puts you up ahead.
Having a film degree has not helped at all. Wow. But it's also a film degree. So
yeah. But I get that. I do want to talk more about like the concept development side of things. I think this is like a fascinating area where it's overlooked. When I start a project, I might start it based on like one idea that I think is funny, and that's like we're starting this series where Black Wolf's going to be like a consultant series where we're going to mock being consultants about things that we really aren't on. And that's what the whole video series is going to be. But it all starts with just like that funny idea of us like being shitty consultants. For like a visual artist like you, I try to always figure out like where do you start? I mean, it seems like you started with your roommate, but when you've continued your journey, has that changed? Like what catches your eye that makes you want to paint it?
I mean, a lot of times I don't have like an end goal in sight. So there's not like something that I'm trying to accomplish. I'm just trying to get something that looks cool on the paper.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, the portrait project started with Casey, my roommate, but painting outside of that started, you know, way before I met him. You know what I mean? So it's just like, and I wasn't planning on painting portraits either for a long period of time. You know, that was nowhere in my like awake goal, art, whatever thing.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with painting portraits. You know, it just was like, I like painting faces and hands, and these are the things that are interesting to me. And then I tried painting my roommate because we were both super hungover and sitting at a cafe together. And I said, can I paint your portrait or can I try to? And he said, yeah, sure. And it turned out really cool, you know? So it was like, oh, that's awesome. I want to like study somebody else's face. So then I like have painted, at this point I painted through like so many of my friends and painted, I'll like sit at, like we'll have like a party or something and I can like look in a room and be like, I painted 6 out of 10 people in this room and it's like a really cool feeling, you know? So like,
well, I think people always have to be stoked on anything of themselves, you know, like any photo of themselves, or like, you know, if you were to say, I mean, you inspired me to paint this or whatever it may be, they're going to like it either way, right? So do you feel like...
Not necessarily.
Really? Have you? So yeah, have you had people that are like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, I've definitely like insulted people and made people feel bad about themselves. Not because I was trying to, but because I didn't like what they saw at the end of it. And like I'm not trying to flatter anybody. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm just trying to paint, you know, like, so if someone sees something that they don't like in the finished piece, you know, like, of course that can hurt someone's feelings. You know what I mean? Well, and like, I'm not asking them to not tell me that they don't like it either, you know? So
I'm in the photo world and I do a lot of headshots, and I'd say that there is like 10% of people out there who always hate a photo of them, like no matter what it is, like they just impulsively like, oh no, you know, like that happens so much. And I think that relays to what you're talking about, where even if it's a painted version of them, they're so critical on themselves that they initially just don't like it. I mean, I'll sit here and I have to conquer that by telling them, look, if we're going to sit here and do this shoot, I'm going to shoot until you get a photo that you like. And then they kind of have to change their mindset, because like we can't be here for 5 days. Like, be real with yourself. You look fine. You're just self-conscious as hell about seeing anything that resembles you. I mean, I think you're doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's also like, you never know what is going to happen. I mean, I'm painting people that typically haven't been painted before, haven't sat for a portrait. As I painted more, I've definitely learned how to help people have a better end goal by like, you know, letting them know what it's like to be painted and like teaching them different things that you can do to like have good posture, or like things to remember when we're like, cause we'd have conversation, but we'd also be quiet together. And, you know, I would help people like have a spot to look at, or like, you know, just some things that like I knew for sure, but other people that maybe have never had that experience didn't. You know, so like I definitely got better at helping people have a better end goal, like an end thing in mind. But I mean, if I'm having a shitty day, I'm going to make a shitty painting, you know, like that's just the way that it is. And when you like, they're not always going to be super good, because it's like, it's not like a photo where I can just like delete it and do another one. It's like this long exposure painting includes our conversation. It includes you moving around. It includes like us trying to connect, like over the course of maybe 3 hours, you know, like if it sucks and you don't like it, I'm not going to do it again.
Right.
We're not going to like do another 3-hour session back to back so that you get a painting that you like.
Yeah, this is it.
You know, it's like, sorry, you know, like it was a hard day for me, or like, sorry, it was a hard day for you, or like, you know, I did my best, you know, but.
Do you get a lot of strangers coming to you to get their portrait?
Yeah, totally.
painted?
So like I made a couple posts on Reddit that like exploded, and I was able to book up like 4 months of work in a day, you know? Wow. So just like 4 sessions a week for 4 months at a time, finish like booking up a calendar of just like, okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. Just like scrolling through and choosing people, like totally like couldn't message everybody back. Was just like, I'm filling my calendar. Here we go. Let's see if this works out, you know? And yeah, I didn't know anything about the person before meeting them. I mean, if you're on Reddit at all, it's like you see like 3 articles that they posted, or like things that they follow or something, but it's not like I'm seeing photos or know anything about the person.
You said one thing that reminded me a lot. Like you sit there and you have to like be quiet with them. And I feel like that's very problematic for people.
It can be. I mean, once I let them know that was part of what was going to happen, people were okay with it. But if I didn't let them know, I was just like, you can do whatever you want, you know?
Yeah.
And then people would either like just talk my ear off, or they would like want to be on their phone. And then I'd paint a portrait of them like looking down, like really hunched over, and it like wasn't good looking. You know what I mean? So it was like, I learned how to be like, so we're going to sit, it's going to take between like 2.5 to 3 hours. There's going to be lulls of silence and like swells of conversation. And both of those are really wonderful and need to happen in order for us to have like a good fit.
Interesting.
You know what I mean? So like, once you like, I was just like, once I was presenting people with something to like, you know, connect to, it was like, cool, this is part of it. This is okay that we're not talking right now. And it's okay that he's studying me. You know, it's like,
yeah,
it was a cool experience.
That is cool. I like how you lay that out ahead of time.
Yeah. I feel like well, I wasn't. And then I learned that I needed to in order to get like a good ending.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like a good experience throughout too. I mean, if there's like, if they don't know what they're doing and I'm like, cool, just like sit there for 3 hours and they're like, okay, now I'm uncomfortable. You know, like, is it done yet? It's like, no, I'm like, finish the sketch, you know?
Is there anything that people do that like really bothers you when you're painting them?
There were a few people that I feel like, I mean, it was probably because I wasn't providing them the information that they needed to up front. But like, some people I felt like wanted or needed more of my attention than I could give them, like in conversation, to the point that I felt like the portrait suffered because of it. You know what I mean? But I feel like that was before I was saying like we're gonna have conversation the whole time, and I'm gonna be painting you while you're moving, but like, it's okay, and I needed there to be some silence that I can focus on the painting as well, because that is the most important part of, you know, our meeting, in my opinion. You know, it's like
a whole experience.
Yeah, we're meeting to get to know each other, to have a cool conversation, but also like to make like a beautiful piece of art at the end of it. Yeah. That is like a time capsule of our conversation and the time that we spent together, and a painting of you, you know, in a way that you've never seen before.
God, your paintings are special.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have you ever made friends with some stranger that you've painted?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
That's cool. So when you paint people, like, it's primarily you, they come to you, and that's kind of your main shtick right now, huh?
I mean, I haven't done one in probably 4 months.
Really?
Or like, I think 3 months, something like that. Yeah. I've just been painting on my own outside of that lately.
Have you thought about doing a show? Have you done a show? I don't know. You have?
Yeah.
How'd that go?
It was cool. Yeah, it was all portraits. It was like, I did it at Modular 8. I don't know if you know where that's at. It's over by Crush Bar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was cool. I mean, it was like strangely emotional too. It was just like, he had me like introduce the show to people at the beginning, and I just like got all like choked up, just like, this is super important to me, and I've had like a really crazy experience painting people, and it's been really cool. And I was like, oh, you know,
dude, that happens.
Like, okay,
man.
Goodbye. You know, like, I got off stage and it was just like, oh my God, why am I crying? You know, but it was just like, this is really an important, crazy, weird like point. And that was kind of like, I think I had painted like 70 people at that point.
70 people?
Yeah.
And they were all in the show?
They were all in the show. It was like, the show was all the paintings that the person that I painted hadn't bought, basically. Because I mean, like, if I paint someone's portrait and they buy the piece, then they walk home with it. So it was like a bunch of paintings.
Just text him and say, hey, can I get that back for a night?
Hey. Yeah. I mean, there would have been a lot more up, but I mean, it's just like, I mean, that's the thing too, is like, none of it was planned. It was not like, I wasn't painting portraits of people in Portland so that I could have a show of 100 people. It was just like, cool, will you help me get better at art? Sweet. Like, thank you for your time. You know, like, that's how it worked out.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really cool.
So when I think about your artwork and just talking to you right now, it's almost like, as you paint, like, there is a big picture, but there's so many little things going on that it's like all these little like moves and like whips and tricks, and you want every little like move and whip and trick to be cool and special in their own way, until it completes this bigger picture. I mean, does that seem accurate?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yes. I mean, like, look at it and let your eyes relax a little bit, and you can see it, and then like you can also dive into it and look at all the little details too.
Yeah. Any advice for artists trying to discover their style as someone who has like a very distinct style?
Nope. No. Nah. I mean, no, I really just think it's like, you know, find artists that you love and like study the shit out of their work and be inspired by it, but also like watch how they move around as well. Because I mean, I think about my favorite artists and I think about their work, and it's not the same anymore. and thank God, you know what I mean? It's like, it started out in this thing. I was like, oh, that's so cool that they're doing this like layering and this like really beautiful, like either portrait work or like, you know, figure study stuff, and then like mixing it with this abstract, crazy thing. Like Eric Jones. I don't know if you know who that is. Like phenomenal. But like, we'll go through phases of experiments of like, oh, I'm using this kind of medium, or like he went through this big phase of like using like Lisa Frank stickers and adding all that shit all over the place. And like, just, you can see like, I'm into this, so I'm doing it. Okay, I'm not into this anymore, so I'm going to try something else. Like, you get stoked about other things. And it's like, I feel like once I started doing that, I found style, because I was like, I'm stoked on this thing. I'm going to do it until I'm not stoked anymore. And then like naturally I'll find something else that's exciting to me, and then I'll attach to that. But like not feel like I have to do that thing forever, because that's like also being stagnant. You know what I mean? So it's just like, there's this like just do what you are excited to be doing. And if you're not excited to do it, then don't feel like you have to do it anymore. You know, like nothing has to stay the same ever.
That's so true. You
can always say like, yeah, I want to do this right now. And then like a month later say, I don't want to anymore, and I want to do this thing. You know, like it's cool, and things change.
There's so many artists out there that, I mean, even musicians, when it's bittersweet, like you'll see them go this one way and you're kind of like, man, I really liked what you were doing before. But also like, you don't want to be the guy that says, no, that's crap.
I love your old work.
Yeah. Like you don't want to do that. You want to be encouraging of them, because like without you, you need to be there for them. Even if you never see that artist, you need to be there for them, and you have to support them. But you see the same thing. I think I see it more drastically with visual artists, where like they might just completely switch mediums, and you're like, oh, okay, well, but you got to embrace those hints of the stuff before that translates to the most recent work. Yeah, I mean, and I can think about various people that I connect to, that I connected more with a couple of years ago, and like, I don't know, that's like cool. I mean, I love their art from 2 years ago, and it's still very vital to me and important in my life now. But so, I mean, it's cool to let people move on too. You know, it's like, I don't know. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not dead. No, it's been made, certainly not. And it's there. But and at the same time, it's like things that people are making right now that I'm not into anymore. Like, I'm sure there's other people that are finding their work for the first time because of what they're currently making. Yeah. And the stuff that they're currently making is attaching to their things that they needed. And it's like, it's all just a different, it's an ecosystem that's way bigger than me. You know what I mean? Which is like beautiful. Yeah. I think we talked about quite a bit. I don't know if anything else that like you want to go into. I usually try to touch on the idea of like mental clarity, because I know that a lot of artists get really stressed out. Like a lot of things get like bottled up in their head. And many people like will get a dog or something. That's how they like cope with that. I don't know if you have any techniques you want to share, or any like hope that you want to give, or good vibes in that way, but by all means, if you got anything. I mean, for me right now, I got a job that's not connected to my art, which is really, I needed it so bad. I like, wait, can you please explain? No, he doesn't have to. You don't have to. Yeah. It's just like, I needed it so bad because it just like, at least I needed it so bad for right now. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, well, do you think you're going like bored, or do you think you're going bored or crazy? Just like, I just think that I was like, I mean, the biggest thing that was like affecting me was that I felt like I was having a difficult time connecting with other people, to the point that I would just shut down around people. You know, it was like, I was super lonely, but also like didn't know how to talk to people anymore. I totally get that. So it was just like, I just started feeling like just a pair of eyes, like that's it. You know, I couldn't like connect anymore, and I felt like I couldn't like start a conversation or like feel comfortable in a room with my peers. Like so many things like that were just like stacking up more and more and more. And then it was like the winter was getting closer, and the day was getting smaller, and I was sleeping until 3 p.m. And it was just like, oh, I got to change things if I want to be happy. Cool, I'm going to do that, you know? So then the first job that came my way, I took it, and it was like a good experience, and it has been so far. Yeah, you got to have like other things in life that you look forward to. Yeah. I mean, if just I like structure or something. I mean, like if I was stuck in the studio all day, I would lose my mind. Like, even though there's like a bunch of cool stuff in here, I would still lose my mind.
Yeah.
Like, I need to talk to people. And maybe that's why I have this podcast. I need to talk to people. I like meeting people. I think this is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's a good way of forcing someone to have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. If it wasn't for this, I would have never met you. I mean, for real. Like, I don't know. Maybe in passing, but I like having these like more intimate conversations where I get to like really learn about the artist, and that's why I do this podcast. I find this interesting, and I hope to think that you enjoy doing this too.
Yeah, it's cool.
But yeah,
it's weird how time has passed, honestly. I mean, especially like 'cause since I forgot that this was happening today, and then just the like getting here quickly, walking here in the rain, and then like being in this like really full-on intense conversation is like really cool. Making time like fly by in a really strange way.
Well,
but
I mean, something we didn't mention, like I messed up one digit on the address, so he went to like a block away. And he sent a message like, "Hey, I think I'm here. My phone's on 1%." And then your phone died. I'm like, "Oh my god!" So
and I was just walking in circles out there.
Yeah, like I sprinted out into the rain to find you, and I was like approaching random people, like, "Is this you?" Like, "No, it's not me." And then I saw you, and I mean, instantly I knew it was you. I was like, that's it. Anyways, it's been a pleasure having you on. You're a cool guy, so I hope that you come back again soon. We could keep...
Yeah, this is cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other message you want to give out to the world? You have the mic.
Nope.
That's it.
No, just like do your thing. I don't know.
I like that. I appreciate that. Anyways, thanks again.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.